Hi, in this video, we're going to talk about the upcoming project, which is creating a monochromatic contour portrait. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about what monochromatic means. Monochromatic is a certain type of color scheme that you see in these two images in front of you. And mono, the root word mono means one. The root word chrome means color. So when you put them together to form the word monochromatic, what that means is one color with a range of tints and shades, meaning one color with really, really light versions like light blue, ranging all the way to really, really dark versions like dark blue. So remember, a tint is one color, such as yellow, mixed with white. So these are all examples of tints of the color yellow. Another word you might be more familiar with is pastels. Shade is one color, such as yellow, mixed with black, right? And the way I always remember is shade is kind of like shadow, right? A shadow is like a darker version of a color. So that's how you remember shade is the dark one, tint is the light one. So when you put together a full range of tints and shades, you get what's called a monochromatic color scale, the full range of a color from white to black. So these are just a few examples of artworks that had monochromatic color schemes that I found online, just so you can see that this kind of color scheme pops up fairly regularly in well-known artworks. So these are all different versions of monochromatic color schemes. This one's not exactly monochromatic, but it is more or less. So for our project, what you're first going to do is start by drawing a contour portrait. And right, so here's an example of a contour portrait drawn using just one continuous line. But this is an example of kind of the steps you're taking in this project, right? So first you found a photograph of a person who you wanted to draw, for example, Frida Kahlo. Then we took that photo, we made it black and white, and we used an effect on it called posterizing. Now, the reason we use the posterize effect is to really help you identify where the edges of different values are, right? So the edge between white versus the lighter gray, the edge between the light gray and the darker gray, the edges of the black, etc. So instead of having there be very smooth gradual transitions like you do with shading, this shows you the exact crisp transitions to help you identify where you're going to draw your lines for your contour portrait. Now, it's absolutely possible to draw a contour portrait based on just a regular photograph. By posterizing it, we just make it a little bit easier since this is the first one that you're doing. So these are just more examples of contour portraits, your first step. And you'll spend a few days up to maybe a week at most doing this contour drawing. I would say aim to be done in about 3 days. You're going to remember when you're completing this drawing to use one continuous line, carefully observe details, go slowly, avoid simplifying, and draw silently if you can to really engage your right brain observational drawing muscles. Then once you finish your drawing, you are going to add a monochromatic color scheme. So here's an example of a monochromatic color scheme just using white and black. But they're even more exciting when you start creating your own custom colors, right? When you start mixing colors instead of using ones straight out of the tube. And these are all watercolors, and that's what you'll be using in your project as well. And we'll be practicing color theory and using watercolors, color mixing, all of those things. So these are all examples of what your portrait might look like when it's completely finished. And you can see that there's different styles in terms of how people apply the watercolor to the canvas. Just like there's different styles of contour drawings. So part of this project is developing your own line style and your own style of applying watercolor to the paper. With that, you're good to move on to the next lesson, which will show you how to get set up to start drawing your own contour portrait.